Welcome to the sixth episode of this new series, American West Live. Every other week, we'll share a 10-minute slice of some of the best stories about how the American West came to be, and California grew to become the fourth largest economy in the world. It all began in the mid-1800s, following an immigrant migration that began as a trickle, then became a massive movement, fueled by desire for land, economic opportunities, and escaping hardships. This week, we imagine what it must have been like to spend an entire winter in the High Sierra Mountains after having traveled months over 2,000 miles from the Midwest, only to be stopped by an early series of winter storms and trapped with dwindling food, little to no shelter, and freezing temperatures. So bundle up and join us as we listen to Episode 6, Freezing, Starved and Alone, Life at Winter Encampment.
Okay, so last time on the deep dive, we covered that absolutely incredible moment, the Stephens-Townsend-Murphy Party getting wagons over the Sierra Nevada summit, late November 1844. Nobody had done that before.
No, it was a monumental achievement.
So they pull off this amazing feat. You'd think, okay, downhill slide into California now. But, well, the mountains weren't quite done with them yet.
Not by a long shot. Crossing the summit was huge, yes, but it didn't magically transport them out of the wilderness.
Right. So today, we're digging into what happened right after that crossing. This period they spent at what's now called the winter encampment.
Still had, another 12 miles to go to get to the Big Bend area on the Yuba River.
And it's still late November, nearly December. Winter is definitely arriving. And it's still high enough up for snow to be a serious issue.
Absolutely. They were exhausted. The animals were exhausted. And critically, Mary Bolger Murphy was, right at the end of her pregnancy.
So they had to stop. It wasn't really optional at that point, was it?
No, not at all. They needed rest, and Mary needed a place to actually have her baby. And Ann Martin Murphy was also heavily pregnant, let's not forget.
So they make this temporary camp, and then December 1st, 1844, it happens. Elizabeth Murphy is born, right there by the Yuba River.
An incredible moment, a birth in the midst of this unbelievably harsh journey.
But that birth also forces a decision, doesn't it?
It does. They realized Mary would need time to recover, proper time. And with winter setting in hard, supplies getting lower.
Well, they couldn't all just wait there indefinitely.
So the party decides to split again.
Most of the men would press on to Sutter's Fort to get supplies and hopefully bring back help quickly.
And while they were gone, the people staying put started improving the camp a bit.
They started building more solid, though still pretty crude, wooden shelters, using logs and then roofing them with cowhides, branches, whatever they could manage.
Just temporary, they hoped, until the supply party got back. That was the plan. So sometime in early December, 17 men, plus Sarah Armstrong Montgomery and the 4 young adult Sullivan siblings, they head out, some on horseback, some walking.
Leaving behind a much smaller group. Who was left at the camp then?
Let's see, it was James Miller, the older William Patrick Martin. He was 68, I think. Then Mary Bolger Murphy with her newborn Elizabeth and her other 4 kids up to age 12. Ann Martin Murphy and her toddler. Mary Murphy Miller with her 5 kids, aged 6 months to 8 years. And Elizabeth Patterson with her 5 children, 6 to 12.
Wow. So mostly women and a lot of young children, plus 2 men, 1 elderly. That's vulnerable.
Very vulnerable. And they made another tough call with the resources.
Like the cattle.
Yeah. They drove most of the remaining cattle ahead with the men going to Sutter's Fort. Helped break the trail, but it also meant they left just enough behind to feed the camp group for what they thought would be just a few weeks.
They were counting on a quick return.
They were. What they had absolutely no way of knowing was that the advance party was about to get caught up in, of all things, a local political squabble down at Sutter's Fort.
A revolt. Seriously.
Kind of a revolt, yeah. It held them up for 6 weeks. 6 critical weeks.
Oh, no. So back at the winter encampment, those first couple of weeks must have been, maybe cold, snowy, uncomfortable, sure, but bearable.
Probably. I mean, they'd consolidated supplies from the original 11 wagons into the 5 that made it over. So they still had some food, cooking gear, bedding, tools, and psychologically, they'd just done the impossible, crossed the Sierra.
Right. There must have been some optimism. Like, we made it this far, the end has got to be near 2,000 miles behind them.
You'd think so. But as the days stretched into weeks and no sign of the men returning, that initial relief would have started to fade pretty fast.
Yeah, the anxiety must have been building. Worrying about the Sutter's Fort group, obviously.
And not just them. Remember the 6 people who took that other route around Lake Tahoe? What happened to them? No way to know.
And the 3 young guys left back at Truckee Lake Allen Montgomery, Joseph Foster, Moses Schallenberger, guarding those wagons.
Exactly. Do they have shelter? Enough food? Are they sick? Just silence. The not knowing must have been agony.
And then, after maybe 2 weeks of this waiting and worrying, 2 figures appear. But it's not the main rescue party.
No, it's Joseph Foster and Alan Montgomery coming from Truckee Lake.
Oh, so good news they're alive, but bad news probably coming.
Pretty much. They reported really heavy snows back there. And worse, Moses Schallenberger was now alone at that little cabin. They'd had to leave him.
Alone? Oh, that's awful. And Foster and Montgomery, did they stay at the main encampment?
Not for long. They saw the situation there. Supplies were already running dangerously low. They realized staying would just make things worse faster.
So they pushed on towards Sutter's Fort themselves.
Yeah. Imagine how that felt for the people at the camp. Seeing potential help arrive, only to leave again almost immediately because things were already so bad.
Devastating. Just reinforcing how isolated and desperate they were becoming.
And that's really when things took a nosedive. Another month goes by. Now it's late January.
And the food they'd carefully rationed.
Gone. Any hope of a quick rescue was long dead. Now it was just survival.
Did they try hunting or anything?
Snow was far too deep by then. Hunting, trapping, impossible. They tried fishing in the Yuba, but got nothing. Options were just disappearing.
And that's when you hear those stories.
Yeah.
Like Elizabeth Patterson boiling shoe leather.
Yeah, and the actual cowhides off the roofs of their shelters, trying to get any tiny bit of nourishment out of them. It's hard to even comprehend that level of desperation.
James Miller makes a decision.
He decides he has to try and get help. He leaves the camp, taking his 8-year-old son, William, with him.
An 8-year-old boy, out into that wilderness, the courage and the fear.
It was an absolute last resort, a huge gamble heading out like that.
But thankfully, down at Sutter's Fort, things were finally moving, unbeknownst to them.
Right. That whole revolt situation fizzled out, turned out to be mostly political maneuvering. Sutter and Micheltorena finally gave the men permission to leave.
And they didn't waste any time heading back up into the mountains, I assume?
No, they knew how urgent it was. They set off north immediately.
And wasn't there someone who went ahead even earlier?
Yes. Dennis Martin, William Patrick Martin's son. He was so worried about his family that he didn't wait for the main group. He just went.
Wow.
And Elizabeth Townsend, her brother, was Moses Schallenberger, the one left alone at Truckee Lake. She had reached the fort earlier, and she begged Dennis Martin to find Moses if he could.
So Dennis Martin heads back into the snow.
Somewhere along the trail, he runs into James Miller and his son, William.
No way. So Miller could tell him just how bad things were.
Exactly. First-hand report. So Martin knew exactly what he was walking into. He pushed on with whatever basic supplies he had.
And he reached the winter encampment, finding everyone still alive, hungry, weak, but so incredibly relieved to see him.
I cannot even imagine that moment. Just seeing another human face bringing help.
It must have been overwhelming. Proof they weren't forgotten. Even his limited supplies would have seemed like a feast. His presence alone was probably life-saving for morale.
But he didn't just stay there, did he? He had another mission.
That's right. After doing what he could short-term for the camp, he turned right back around heading east again over the summit to find Moses Schallenberger.
Back over the summit in February.
Yeah, there was apparently a brief break in the weather, and he knew snow travel, so he managed to make some crude snowshoes and just went for it.
That is just astounding dedication.
Truly. And then, late February 1845, Moses Schallenberger, who'd been alone for almost 3 months, as a teenager.
Yeah, surviving on trapped foxes, basically starving. He sees a figure coming through the snow. He'd pretty much given up hope. It was Dennis Martin.
Oh, wow. Imagine the relief for that poor kid.
Has to be one of the most dramatic rescues imaginable. Martin shared his food, what little he had left, and, get this, made another pair of snowshoes for Moses.
The man was resourceful.
Incredibly. So the two of them start heading west together, and eventually they meet the main rescue party coming down from the mountains, the ones who had finally relieved the winter encampment.
A reunion. Finally starting to come together, but the journey out wasn't smooth sailing either.
Little Elizabeth Murphy. Her cradle, strapped to a horse, somehow fell off during the descent and went right into the freezing Yuba River.
Oh my goodness.
Thankfully, her father, Martin Murphy Jr., reacted instantly, jumped in, and saved her. But talk about a close call, and that's apparently how she got her middle name, Yuba.
Wow. A permanent reminder of that moment. So finally, everyone gets down out of the worst of it.
Yes, around the 1st of March, the whole surviving group is reunited on the north bank of the Bear River. Imagine the emotions. Relief, joy, just overwhelming.
But they weren't quite at Sutter's Fort yet. One more hurdle.
One last obstacle. The Bear River was flooded. Melting snow from the mountains made it impassable.
Seriously. After everything, they get stuck yards from safety by a flooded river.
For about a week, yeah. More waiting, more uncertainty. So close, yet so far. It must have been maddening.
But the river eventually went down.
It did. They crossed and finally walked into Sutter's Fort, almost a full year after leaving Missouri.
What an unbelievable story. The definition of an epic journey. The hardship is just staggering.
It truly is. Their arrival wasn't just the end of their trip. It was proof of incredible human resilience, determination, the sheer will to survive against impossible odds.
And their success, despite everything, really did pave the way, didn't it? Showed the wagon road was possible, even with the dangers. It changed things.
Absolutely. The Stephens-Townsend-Murphy Party embodies that early pioneer spirit, facing down one nightmare after another and just refusing to quit. They literally opened up the West in a new way.
Their story is just a profound example of endurance. The physical challenges, the starvation, the elements.
Facing things most of us can't even properly imagine.
So as a final thought for you listening, think about the psychological side of it. The constant fear, the uncertainty, the waiting, the loss, for months on end. And not just for the adults. Think about all those children at the winter encampment. What kind of lasting mark does an experience like that leave on a young mind? Something really profound to consider.
Definitely. A sobering thought to end on.
We hope you enjoyed this episode and invite you to learn more about the Stephens-Townsend-Murphy Party at our websites. We provide links in the show notes. Look for more American West Live deep dives every other week right here, or head over to our website at historyexp.org or YouTube channel at History Expeditions. From all of us at History Expeditions and the Sunnyvale Heritage Park Museum, we look forward to seeing you on the trail.